So we're going to be going over the setup for the extra credit lab and then a small tutorial on how to do some of the things that we're going to ask you to do for it. You've been using classes so far. You created your own classes and then you use them in lab 3 and lab 4. For this extra credit lab, you're going to have to use classes that have already been created by somebody else, which is usually called the library. The library is just a collection of classes that you can use that somebody else made for you unless you do lots of good stuff. So when you first download your zip, go ahead and double click on that and you will get a folder called Lab 3 Extra Credit. In this case, it's called Draw. Open up IntelliJ, and IntelliJ is going to ask you a few things. So it's going to tell you, do you want to import something? Do you want to create a new one? But in this case, you just want to open the lab that you have to do for extra credit. So I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to go to year 11 labs, and then I'm going to go to lab 3, and I'm going to just click on that folder, not anywhere in here, just on the folder. Then I'm going to click on open. And that's going to open my project on IntelliJ, and it's going to set things up for me. Now, when I first open up my project, I'm going to notice that I have SRC, and under SRC I have edu.cis. In there I have a class called CIS drawing. But for some of you, you might not have the correct or the same Java version as I do, which is okay. All you have to do is click Setup SDK. So open up this file. So double click on that and it'll come up like this. It'll give you this option, and then you go to and pick your 1.8 version, whatever version it might be. You might not have all of these other ones. You might just have 1.8 version, so go ahead and click OK for that, and then your lab should be all set up, and some of the red will go away, just like it did for me. So once you have that, you're going to see that we have a class called CIS drawing that extends something called the graphic program. You don't have to worry about what that means, but what this does is create some graphics for you. And then we have a constructor for this class. We have a method called run that gets called in the constructor. So in this method is where we're going to run this class and make the drawing happen. And then here we have a main method inside of this class that creates a new drawing and starts the drawing. So how are we going to do some of these drawings? Well, we're going to look at something called documentation. And we're going to start with documentation for ACM's graphics package, which is this package. So if you want, you can click on the links that we've put up for the documentation, or you can look it up yourself. I am going to start with a grect object. What's a grect object? Well, it's a rectangle. So I type in grect, and then I look for grect ACM graphics, and I auto-complete it. And then I say this is going to be the body of my drawing, and I go new grect. So this constructor for the grect, this is an object that has been created, and you can see the objects in here if you like for what we're doing right now. It's going to be an ACM and graphics, and there's lots and lots of them. So if you wanted to see what the grect object looks like, you can double click on it, and then you can find out how it's been implemented. If you don't care so much for that, you just want to use it, then documentation will be helpful. So it gives you a summary of the constructors. You have two initialization constructors, one where you can give it the height and width, and then the other one where you can give it an x coordinate, y coordinate, width, and height. So in this case, I'm just going to start simple and say I'm going to have a width of 100 and a height of 100, and I've got my rectangle already. I'm not sure what's going to happen if I do this, but I will run my class, and you can run it here in main or here in CIS drawing, and you will have a pop-up that's going to be created. Going to do well, it should draw what I want it to, but in this case there's nothing there. Well, if I read through the methods that I can use, it looks like I can fill the color of this, and I haven't filled the color, so maybe I should do that. And it also looks like I can say whether the object is actually filled. So maybe I should do both of those things. I'll set a color for this object, and then I will go body dot set fill color, and then I can use capital C, and then it's going to give me a bunch of colors. So capital CO, or I can do capital COLOR dot, and then it's going to give me lots of colors. Let's go with red. So set fill color in this case is going to take in a color object, and it's going to color the inside of this shape. Great. And then body dot set filled, I want to say true because it takes in a Boolean. And I also want to say I want to add this to my drawing. So I'm going to say add body. So what add body does, it lets me add it onto something called the canvas. Now the canvas is where we're painting. So add this and set where it is. So we got a nice square, which is great. But it's up in the top. And why is that? Well, I didn't give it any values for the X and Y coordinates for me because I used this constructor. It's going to position it at the origin. Now the origin is the top left corner, and that's 0, 0. As you go right, it's going to increase the x-axis, and as you go down, it's going to increase the y-axis. So maybe I want to put it somewhere at, let's say, 90 and 150. So it's going to be on the x-axis at 90, so it's going to go 90 one way, and then I expect it to go 150 down, which is a positive number for the y-axis. I'll click on that, and then hopefully my red origin, now it's somewhere down here. So 100 this way, or sorry, 90 this way, and 150 down. Perfect. And what I'm going to try is to, say, build a house. So hopefully I can build a house. So the roof, I'm going to use something different. I don't want the roof to be a rectangle. I want it to be a triangle. So I'm going to try and see if I can find an object that I can use for this, for triangle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to ACM graphics library, and it's going to give me a few things about this library, and I'm going to click on the task force, and it brings me to this page. I can click on the graphics package, and it's going to take me to another page that gives me lots of different tutorials on how I can do things. And as I'm going through this page, I'm going to try and search, maybe they have a way to do a triangle. I see, and it says creates a triangle for some node, and it uses G polygon. Interesting. So I'm going to go and search for G polygon. So G polygon ACM graphics. It's the first thing that comes up, and now I have my polygon documentation that I can look through. I can also click on package here, and it gives me a bunch of other ones. And one of them happens to be polygon. You've got pent, oval, math, line, and so on. So if I go to polygon, I find that I can create a polygon with an X and Y axis. So I'm going to try and do that, see if that helps me out. So G polygon, autocomplete, then this is going to be my roof equals new G polygon. And I can give it an X and Y axis, but I'm not really sure what the X and Y axis should be. So I'm going to leave that blank for now. And I'm going to look through here, and it says I can add edges, and I can add a vertex, and I can add filled and color and scale and rotate. Well, I'm going to start with add vertex. So roof dot add vertex, and I'm not sure where I'm going to go, so I'm just going to try something out and see what happens. I'm not going to put it at the origin. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to add my roof to my canvas. And I have to remember that I need to set the color, right? So roof dot set filled color to, in this case, let's go with orange, and roof dot set filled to true. Perfect. Now that I have my color and I sort of have a vertex for this, let's see what happens. I'm not quite sure what might happen right now. Nothing. I guess I don't have. So if you flat, So let's maybe add two more vertices and see what that does for us. So maybe go 50-50, and I'm just gonna try, I guess 3 vertices for a triangle would make sense, so I'm gonna go with some, in this case, arbitrary values and see if not so much. It's more of a just a line really, which documentation, I'm gonna see that they're using just dot add vertex here, which should help me in some way, but I'm not sure why it wouldn't help me. So let's go with add vertex at the top, and then add some vertex on the left, and then add some vertex on the right. And let's see if we can debug where these things should be. I'm going to run this and then keep this on the screen, see if I through it. So maybe I can use this body to figure out my vertices. And let's see, let's go with the top. I would like my vertex to be somewhere around here, perhaps. So that would be, and my x-axis, maybe I can do something like body dot get center x. So my x-axis would go up to about the center x-axis of this body. It's pretty good. And then my y-axis should be maybe the same height as the body. So body dot get height. But I'm not sure if that's going to help me, because if this is 100 and I go from here down to 100, it's going to do it about there. So maybe not height. Maybe for now, I'm just going to go with something safe like 50, which is going to be somewhere around here, maybe. Now I want this point right here, so I want to go 1, 2, 3. So I want what this point is, and that should be easy enough on the left side. So I should go body dot get x and body dot get y. So the x and y of this body is going to be right in this top left corner of that rectangle. So I want the same one, and then I want this spot over here. So I will go body dot get right x, that will help, and then same y, body dot get y, because we're still on the same sort of y plane here. And let's see. Perfect. So now I got myself a triangle and I've got myself a house. What other stuff can I use? Let me go through here and let me click on package, and let's see if I can add maybe a name to this. Label. Label looks promising. So it says creates a new label object to contain a specific string. Perfect. I'm just going to go ahead and create a glabel object. I'm going to say house name, and I'm going to do new, and it tells me that I can use a couple of constructors. One is a string only, and the other one is a string with some location. So now that I have my label here, I can add that label to my canvas. So when I talk about canvas, this screen is your canvas. So anything that you put on this screen will be your canvas overall. So if I add that and I click, you notice that I can almost see it, but not sure. So let's see what I can do with this G label and what I can do. So maybe set the bounds, ascent, set front, set font, the string that is displayed, the height of the string, so on. It looks like I have to just use a constructor to place it somewhere. So if I want to use a constructor, maybe I want to use the bodies dot get x, and then on the y, I'm going to go somewhere with maybe the roofs dot get y, sort of the same height of the roof, and play it. And I don't quite have my house name. I wonder why. perhaps set the color or set, and I'll try to work my way through this. So one of the things that I'm thinking is maybe I want to do set color, but I don't see quite where set color might be. And maybe the roof is not the correct, or the height of the roof might not be the best one. So since there's three different vertices, that might not work, right? So I'm just going to use a value, a hard-coded value, and see if that can show it on the screen. Maybe on it's not the best thing. Ah, there we go. So now I have my label, and my label looks much better, which is great. Now what you're going to do is you're going to create your own drawing, anything that you'd like, and you can be as creative as you'd like. Make sure to look at the documentation, including some of the tutorials from the ACM library. It's quite a bit of stuff here that you can follow. And we're going to hold a contest. So Ms. Nahar and I will pick the best drawing out of all the drawings that are submitted, and then